prayer. Our most precious Heavenly Father, be with us tonight for a long and a mixed agenda. But give us your guidance and help us do the right thing for the right thing. And be with the ones that are not here for whatever reason. And if they need your help, to give them the help and the cure that they need to be helped. And lead us and guide us in the direction you have to go, and forgive us of our sins. In God's precious name, amen. Let's stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I apologize for the flags not being in the right place. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I made a motion.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Public comments. Individuals wishing to, well, let me get the police, the new introduction of new employees, Kim, or whoever.
So we have 3 new employees that have started in the last month. One is a return, Mr. Steve Proctor. He has joined us back at the wastewater treatment plant on a part-time status. We had an employee go out on medical, and so he is filling in a part-time capacity for us for the time being. And then we have Victor. Steve's not here, right? Yep. Steve's not here. All right, and then we have Victor. He joins us from in the electric department. He's one of our new linemen, and I will let him give you a little information about himself. Not to put you on the spot.
I'm from Four Oaks. Just got into line work and looking forward to staying with Benson for a while.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's doing an amazing job. And then our last employee is Mark Martinez. And he joins us in the Public Utilities Department, so Public Works, streets, and water and sewer. So he's getting an array of information over the last month. You want to say hello?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Martinez. Myself and my wife hail from Los Angeles, California. We are transplants to North Carolina. I am a military retiree, 22 years in the United States Marine Corps. We've made this our home, and I'm civic-minded, so as we moved here to be closer to the grandkids, I decided to go ahead and throw my back into this small community that we love called Benson.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Let's give them all a hand. Department reports. Does anyone have any questions about the reports that you received?
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Public.
I don't think we did a public comment. I think you skipped over that.
Oh, okay.
Do the
Sorry.
elections.
Individuals wishing to address the board are asked to provide their names and address for the record. Come forward.
You're here for the rezone, right?
State.
Not yet. No.
Yeah, this- Nothing about
This is just
the
normal
public
public
hearing.
comment. Yeah.
Anyone else come forward? No one has come forward. He closed the public comments. Public hearings. SUP 2023-05. Come forward, Deborah.
And as Aaron is coming up, I just want to remind everybody to speak into your microphones. We've gotten some public comment again that they can't hear us on YouTube, so make sure you speak into your microphone. We can give you Williams if. No, not for YouTube world.
I'll do my best on that. Evening, everybody. My name's Ike Parker. I'm the town attorney. I generally talk a lot more during, will during this first public hearing because it's quasi-judicial. And for the benefit of everybody in the room, what that means essentially is that the board sits sort of in the function, quasi-function of like a judge or a panel of judges. This first public hearing will be a little bit more formalistic. I dare say it'll feel a lot to those participating like court or like a court proceeding. There are parties who will present evidence. All the testimony has to be, all the witnesses have to be sworn. Parties to cross-examine witnesses have to have standing. The applicant has standing, but other parties who may wish to provide evidence or cross-examine witnesses will have to be sworn in. I will get into the issue of standing if anyone intends to cross-examine witnesses or offer evidence. I will get in some questions with you if that applies to you, of the nature of the particular harm that you would arguably suffer. And so don't take it personally. I'm just asking some questions to establish that you qualify under the law as having standing to present that evidence and cross-examine witnesses. At this time, before we get started, before Aaron presents on the case, is typically the time when we call for the board to disclose any ex parte communications that they may have had with any party about this matter, about this case outside of the meeting, to remind the board and for the benefit of the public, all of the decision tonight has to be based on competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record, which is to say presented here tonight, right? So there can't be any outside of the hearing evidence considered, or any bias on behalf of any of the board members, any conflicts of interest. So to the board, are there any ex parte communication, bias, or conflicts that need to be disclosed before Ms. Joseph gets started regarding the first hearing?
I don't have any.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. That's it. That's all from me.
My name is Erin Joseph. My work address is 303 East Church Street, Benson, North Carolina. I'm a town employee in the planning department. So it's good to see you all this evening. I would like to present my staff report for the special use permit request. The applicant has submitted an application requesting the development of 18 townhomes within the town of Benson's corporate limits. The applicant owner of the property is Blake Denning or DCC Properties LLC. You can see on the screen and in the staff report that the total plan for development consists of 3 lots located at South Riles, West Riddick, and South Blackman Street in the town of Benson. And just for reference, West Riddick Street is less than a half a mile from South Wall or US Highway 301 South. Currently, all 3 lots are vacant. There was a single-family home located on the West Riddick Street lot. However, it's been demolished. The current uses, the surrounding uses in the zoning district is residential R6, and 1 lot is zone R11 residential. The site, and you can see the zoning map here, and that one lot that I referenced that is currently zoned residential. The surrounding uses in the area consist predominantly of single-family residential, predominantly detached single-family homes. Our future land use map, and as well as our comprehensive land use plan, is consistent with this residential development. We've identified this neighborhood to continue with the uses that have been developed as single-family, higher density residential. Just to give you an idea as well of the surrounding area, you can see how the development patterns have occurred over the years. You do have a new phase of Cliffwood that is currently under construction now, just to the north of the site. It's Cliffwood Phase 3. It consists of 12 lots. And also, towards the bottom of your screen there, you have a future single-family development that feeds back into NC 27 that consists of about 180 lots. Then surrounding, you have the existing single-family dwellings. As stated, this request consists of 18 individual lots for townhomes, single-family attached homes. The lots range between 2,000 square feet and 6,000 square feet, and you do have one that is a corner lot that consists of 8,000 square feet, a little over 8,000 square feet. And so you can see the site plan. You have the site plan in your staff report as well, but you can see that it's broken down into 4 units and 6 units for 2 of the lots, and then 2 units for the last current lot. They've also placed a central mailbox unit on the site, and the parking is in the front yard setback. If you recall, we recently approved a text amendment to allow townhomes to have their parking areas in the street yard versus the rear yard. And so the developer has provided roughly 20-foot long driveways, shared driveways. And so as stated, it is consistent with our comprehensive land use plan. The site plan was reviewed by Benson Fire Department, our Public Utilities Department, as well as Johnston County Stormwater and Erosion Control. And so because it does exceed the threshold of 1 acre of disturbance and over 17,000 square feet of impervious surface or built upon area, it will require permits from Johnston County. And so considering the merits of the application and review, staff does recommend that this request is approved contingent upon the review and approval of construction drawings, and also that the site is developed in accordance with all local, state, federal laws and codes. And I would ask that the staff report as well as the application packet be entered into the record.
I'll entertain a motion to put it in the record. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay. We'll now go into the applicant's testimony. And during this question and answer shall not be asked any questions to the town commissioners at this time.
My
Give
name's
your
Blake.
name and address.
My name's Blake Denning, P.O. Box 338, Benson, North Carolina. I'm the owner of DCC Properties, and we'll be doing this development. Work with me here, so this is my opening statement,
Gotcha.
I guess.
So again, yeah, it's not quite like court, so no reason to, everybody says it's easy to get nervous up here, but, so you'll present, anything you want the board to consider. As a party, you can cross-examine witnesses and submit evidence, but as the applicant and property owner, you can testify directly as well.
Okay.
So you present what you want the board to consider, and then, any evidence you want them to look at, tangible evidence, any witnesses you may want to call would be after that. Then any other party with standing would have opportunity to cross-examine those. Then the other party will come up, present a case, you'll have an opportunity to cross-examine, sort of like TV court, and then,
Gotcha.
and then that, the board will review it all after that and make a decision.
All right, sounds great. So you had the 4 findings of fact in your packet, but I did elaborate a little bit, or I would like to. The proposed development is really in a corner of town that's kind of been abandoned. The property had an existing house on it, no one had lived in it in years. We tore that piece of property down. There was some abandoned barns, and it was more of a liability to have it there than it was for me to get rid of it. So we demolished those. It is very grown up. We have recently gone in, cut the property, cleaned it up, shredded it, mowed it, kind of got it back where it would look like a decent side of town. We're proposing to put townhouses on it. Can I ask Aaron a question?
You can.
Whenever I give you the packet, I give you
Aaron, why don't you come back up?
the plans. Did they get a copy of those?
I believe so. The floor plans for
With the elevation drawings?
with the elevation drawings, it should be in there.
If not, I have a copy here.
I don't see them, Aaron.
You don't see that?
Here you go.
Are you asking these to be put into the record? Yes. All right, so preliminarily now, is there any party adversarial, or I guess even in support, that would, any person that would contend to have standing that would like to cross-examine witnesses or present evidence in regards to this first public hearing? This is not all the other rezonings, this is just the first special use permit. Any other party in the room that would claim to have standing? Okay, you wanna, I would ask, you wanna enter these into the record?
Yes. You want me to pass them out?
No, I've got that, you just, we need to make a motion on that.
Oh.
I'll entertain a motion to put this in the record.
I'll make a motion, we accept it into the record.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. In the record.
So as you can see by looking at it, it's going to be, there will be a variety. That's a 6-unit plan that you have in your hand, but there will be a variety of 2, 4, and 6 within this development. These are 3-bed, 2-bath townhouses, roughly between 1,550 and 1,600 square foot. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what the square footage come out to be. Properties will value somewhere around $300,000 to $320,000, and they're going to be very nice homes. Stone veneer on the front, single-car garage to allow for storage, so hopefully it'll be a clean, neat area. And the properties will also be put into an HOA for maintenance. So everything should stay clean and neat once we finally get development finished up over there. The property to the north is under construction currently, and to the south is older homes, and further south than that is the new development with 180 houses. So either it's been developed or in the process of being developed that's around us. So we're doing infill development. We're just trying to clean up that corner of town and increase property taxes and property value for that side of town. That's really all I got.
Good, that it?
Yeah, the Anyone
I
call
have
it?
no one else.
Okay. I'll call it one more time. Is there anybody on an adversarial basis who would be opposed to this, that would intend to have standing, that would like to cross-examine Mr. Denon, who's provided testimony here just now?
Take a second. We now take the opposition testimony. Anyone that wants to speak against this, come forward. There's still no question to be asked of the commissioners at this time. Anyone that is in opposition, come forward. No one coming forward? We go to the applicant's rebuttal if you don't have any. Opposition rebuttal, commissioner inquiry. The commissioners may ask additional questions of the applicant. Anybody have any question for the applicant?
Do you have anything else?
I would just tell Blake I've been by it, I've looked at it, tickled to death it's being cleaned up.
Well, thank you.
And with what I see right here, won't be anything but a plus. I just hope the economy sticks and everything's gonna go as good as we hope to.
Amen.
Yeah.
Does the commissioners have any additional questions? If not, we'll go into the deliberation of the commissioners. No person may address the commissioners, and question may be asked commissioners to the public.
Yeah, I know, I've seen Ms. Joseph come back. It might be beneficial just to go through the findings of fact. That's what you're tasked with considering. I don't know if that's been gone into yet, but at this point,
Yeah.
that's what you're going to have to base the decision on. So there's 4 findings. Aaron can go through those.
Yes, 4 findings of fact that you want to base your decision on. All findings of fact need to be met in order to approve the special use permit request. And the 4 findings are that the application will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plans as submitted and approved, that the application meets all required specifications and conforms to the standards and practices of sound land use planning, and that the town code of ordinances or other applicable regulations, that the application will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property and will not be detrimental to the use or development of adjacent properties or other neighborhoods. And finally, that the application will not adversely affect the adopted plans and policies to the town or violate the character of existing standards for development of the adjacent property owners. And as you deliberate this evening, so that it's clear for the record, we ask that each finding of fact is discussed individually and then voted on if it meets the standard, and then one final motion to approve or disapprove the request based on the evidence presented here this evening.
I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
I make that motion.
So
I would
Go.
suggest, like Ms. Joseph said, let's go through each one.
each finding,
We've all been in these hearings before. I know there's been no opposition, and there is case law and
Okay.
how that works, but still, for the record and benefit of drafting the order, let's go through each one, vote, and
Look,
then.
I pulled my motion. Okay, let's do that.
or at least make a motion that you all find that all findings have been met.
I'll
if you-
make that motion that I find that all findings have been met.
All right,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
okay. And then do you want to have your final motion that saying the same thing, but I know it's redundant, but we just would like to be clear for the record, that you are approving this request, SUP 2023-05, based upon the findings of fact having been met, and that you are approving it in this motion.
All right, so that's what I'm doing.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what, I'm gonna get a copy of that and put so I can see it, because I can't even see, I
Okay,
can't see.
it is, okay. Well,
Is it in there?
not the motion, but the
The
findings.
findings, yeah, that's what I need.
And I can
a
start
copy of.
adding sample motions if you'd like.
Please do.
Okay.
'Cause that would help me a lot.
Okay.
But I do make a motion that we approve all that has been, all the findings have been approved. And I make my final motion to approve them.
Approve the application.
To approve that.
Yes.
And would you like to add the portion of that contingent upon approval of construction drawings and that all codes are
Yes.
met, all
Yes.
local, state, and
Yes.
federal?
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no.
Thank you.
All right, going to RZ 2023-05.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are switching over to a rezoning or map amendment. This proceeding and hearing is slightly different. It is not the quasi-judicial proceeding that we just
Let me
undertook.
correct myself.
Mhm.
RZ 2023-04.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, this is a rezoning request to amend our map from residential agriculture to I-1 light industrial. The property owner is Dale E. Parker, and the petitioner is the town of Benson. The request consists of 2 contiguous parcels totaling 85.6 acres. The site is on the screen and in your staff report. It's located on NC 242 North, less than a mile from I-40. The site is located within the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the town, and the land, the property is currently unimproved and vacant. So this rezoning request is being brought before you this evening in an attempt to correct a map error that existed when the town expanded the ETJ in 2008. Under the county's zoning, it was zoned I-2. However, during that time period, when the ETJ expansion occurred, it was believed that the property was zoned residential agriculture, and it's been that way on our zoning map ever since. And so it was a potential inadvertently rezoned to RA. The current zoning map you have on the screen shows it as residential agriculture, and you see that predominantly the surrounding district consists of residential agriculture. You do have 2 parcels just fronting the site that is currently zoned I-1. And the uses in the area are predominantly residential, single-family, detached residential, and agricultural uses. The utilities would be provided by the town of Benson, water and sewer. And this request is inconsistent with our future land use map. As you can see on the screen, our future land use map that was adopted in 2021 identifies this particular site as suitable for commercial and not industrial because of its proximity to residential. And because this request is inconsistent with our current zoning map, a neighborhood meeting was held with adjacent property owners on September 19th. And so this is a general rezoning request. And so in considering this request, you would need to consider all of the potential uses that are permitted in the light industrial zoning district, which would include some of them would be park, open area, warehouse, freight, limited manufacturing, contractor's office, and indoor recreation. And the intent of that district of light industrial is to promote and retain employment opportunities within the town of Benson, but also uses that would entail quiet, less noxious to the surrounding area. And so in my evaluation of the request, although it is inconsistent with the comprehensive land use plan, Goal 9 aims to ensure compatible land uses and intergovernmental cooperation. And so that simply means that we aim to ensure that land uses that are adjacent to each other are compatible and not drastically dissimilar. And focus area 3 of our comprehensive land use plan identifies the subject parcel as ideal for commercial development because of its proximity to single-family homes. It does not recommend industrial uses. Still, the plan acknowledges the need for the town to proactively zone and target specific sites that have been determined to be prime industrial and commercial sites. I believe that the impact of adjacent property owners and the surrounding community is reasonable, and the benefits of the rezoning outweigh any potential inconvenience or harm to the community. The future development of the site could spur economic development growth for the town. Any development plans would require buffering, and we must work with the developer to ensure proper site design that has minimal impact to surrounding properties. And again, although it does not recommend industrial, our comprehensive land use plan does see the benefit of commercial uses on NC 242 North. And also, the proposal, does it enhance or maintain the public health, safety, and general welfare? The proposal maintains the general welfare of the public as the town has allocated water and sewer to serve the property and is adjacent to a state-maintained road that is planned for expansion or widening. Any development approvals will be contingent to the review and issuance of permits and must adhere to all state, local, and federal regulations. And is this request a consideration for small-scale zoning? And the answer is yes, in my evaluation, because you do have the subject property is sited immediately adjacent to residentially zoned properties and residential uses, and it should be evaluated for reasonableness. The planning board reviewed this request last week at their meeting, and they did not recommend approval of the site due to the inconsistency with our adopted plans and policies. And that is all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I now call the applicant to make their presentation. I now open the public hearing.
You want to tell them what I'm passing out.
Yeah, so Aaron, prior to the meeting, put a couple of documents on your desk. What Ike is passing around is the full-fledged packet of information that we've had over the last few months in regards to this situation. I'm Kimberly Pickett. I'm the town manager for the town of Benson, 303 East Church Street, Benson. I'm not sure if you have to have that for this or not, but the two parcels in question, as Aaron stated, in May of 1989, the Town Board of Commissioners approved sewer capacity to be set aside for commercial development. That sewer capacity we still have on the books today as being set aside. We do have documentation showing that that was a very public action that was made. It was in the newspaper. It was done at a board meeting. So we have confirmed that, and like I said, it's still on the books today. From all evidence that we have been presented with, it appears that these two parcels were zoned I-2 heavy industrial on or before January 28th of 1991 at the county office. This zoning was also tied to two additional connecting parcels that are currently zoned I-1 still today. So those are the two smaller parcels on the maps. It appears that when our Board of Commissioners extended the ETJ limits in 2008, there was an error with the maps that were obtained from the county, and our board inadvertently rezoned those two properties in question to RA. I'm coming before you tonight in the proper manner of a public hearing to fix the error that occurred on the county level by rezoning the two properties back to I-1. We have discussed with the property owner. We understand that it was I-2 at one time, but we have discussed it with him and feel that I-1 would serve better in that area as opposed to I-2. And as Aaron has stated, it would economically better the town. You have letters that are from the planning director from the county that state that he does believe that it was an error that was made on the county side. And so we're really just bringing it before y'all tonight to correct an error that was made quite some time ago.
One thing I'll just point out, not to interrupt Ms. Pickett, if she can speak more further if you have questions. But I do have a copy of the minutes from this board's meeting of April 8th, 2008. That was the night that two of you were actually on that board, the remainder of you aren't, that the board had a public hearing, heard testimony, heard public comment, I should say, and voted to extend the ETJ. And her testimony at that meeting from at the then planning and zoning administrator that this was a reclassification in terms of the rezoning, quote unquote, of the area, and that it was 99% consistent with the county, and the uses will continue and nothing will change. So that was testimony the board did hear at that hearing to zone this property at the time that the ETJ was extended. So just, I guess, further to bolster the understanding that there was not an intention to rezone it. It does not appear, but that due to the map error, it was thought to be something it wasn't, evidently. And I have a copy. I'm sorry, I apologize, one copy of that, but they're in minutes from 2008.
Does anyone else want to come forward and present for the?
Is it okay if we have Mr. Braston Newton is the county planning director and can speak to the background of the error?
Yes, sir. Good evening. For the record, Braston Newton, Johnston County Planning Director, 309 East Market Street, Smithfield. So as you'll see in the packet, there is a letter that was addressed to Ms. Joseph from Johnston County Planning and Zoning. And just to give you some background, I'd had several conversations with the owner, Mr. Parker, with regard to the zoning of this property. Ms. Parker presented and kept meticulous records, I must say, from the years involving transactions involving the property. In looking and reviewing those and reconciling those with records that we could locate of the county, it does appear that the property was originally zoned industrial and classified industrial. we based this not only on the map, the zoning map that we had, and what you'll see there, I believe, is the actual zoning designation on the large parcel, and there is also a leader line or an arrow that leads you to the smaller parcels. This was common practice, apparently, at that time. If you had a small parcel, in placing that zoning designation on the small parcel, it kind of took, because you did see in that map there were orthophotography on that map as well, and it would take away from the images that were shown in that orthophotography. So their practice was to place, if there was an adjoining parcel, or if that parcel, even if the parcel wasn't of the same zoning, they would place that zoning district designation on the larger parcel and provide that leader line. In addition to the letter and the map that was sent to you, I believe there are some minutes in there that allude to this parcel and matters concerning its zoning and potential development. Mr. Parker even provided me with a conceptual site development drawing from that was considered by the board, by the Planning Board and Board of County Commissioners at that time as well. So I'd certainly be glad to answer any questions you may have, and I can only clarify as much as I know, since my tenure with the county did not start until 2018.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have some. So what you're basically saying is the county made a mess? Is that what you're saying?
I
They
will
didn't do
say
it right.
that I will say that at some point when they transitioned, most likely, and I can't say for certain anything because obviously I wasn't party to that. But what I can say is that at some point when they transitioned from the way they managed and maintained their zoning, their official zoning map, their zoning atlas, that either this was missed or it was just in error. It was not picked up that the larger parcel was the industrial zoning.
Any other questions? Thank you, Brian.
Welcome.
Anyone else want to come to speak in favor?
My name is Dale Parker. I reside at 2790 NC 242 North, which is in front of this property. My wife and I, we built our house there 43 years ago and got married there soon be 42 years ago. The property behind our house, we've owned this property since the late 70s. And in line with that, there was 4 parcels in it. And like it's been talked about, the rezoning, when all that came about, when they were rezoning, they were zoning the county initially in 91, we had to submit all the documents, and part of that was where the town had gave us sewer for an industrial development or whatever. And there was quite a few other tracts submitted that same night, and there was no problem with those. Actually, if you go down 242 toward 40, our land on the left was also rezoned, zoned to I-1 also, which it actually is parallel with where this property stops. And we call this whole area Oakland, was the name we put on it over 40 years ago. And Oakland development will eventually extend on toward 40. There'll be a whole nother commercial sector at the intersection there of right up from that. I do want to make one comment too in reference to commercial. If you look at the UDO on page 2-14, commercial uses, it lists I-1, which we have agreed to go with. I think anything we would look at doing, which let me back up just one second. I know I have limited time, but when we looked at it, we built our house there and we've been arrested there for a long time. And what we were looking at is, I mean, we knew we could residential develop it, we could make that decision then. But with us living there and with water and sewer, just like we've already seen, you can do tons of density. And to be honest, we didn't want to have hundreds of houses behind their house there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and I understand we've got to have them. But when we looked at it, we were looking more at commercial and light industrial development. And so that's why we did that. There's more open space. It's not 6,000-foot lots or 50-foot lots. I mean, you have a lot more open space, and we would probably develop it ourselves. There's no specific timetable. It may be in my lifetime, it may be later, but we just wanted to get this corrected. But I will say, in reference to commercial uses on page 214, everything that we're talking about doing in I-1 is listed as commercial, not industrial. The only thing listed as industrial is general manufacturing, and I don't think we're really looking at general manufacturing. And crematorium, research and development, and waste service. I mean, none of those I don't think we're talking about doing, but I do want to say, I know it was mentioned it was all industrial, but most of the uses for I-1, if you look at 214, is actually commercial. But that's sort of it. Braston staff, we have had to do a world of research and actually find the original zoning maps. And what we really think happened was whoever was switching it, the tract of land was divided on 2 GIS maps. When we went to the GIS system in, I think they started in 1992, I think. Whoever probably looked at it picked up the one on the left, and it showed that they picked up that designation, which the front 2 lots has been I-1 for many, many years. 2 of the 4 tracts have. And they didn't probably look at the other map. And if you looked at the other map, it showed the other 2 pieces being the same zoning. But I'll be glad to answer any questions, but that's.
Does anybody have any questions, Mr. Parker?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to come forward to speak in favor? No one else coming in favor? Anyone that wants to speak opposed, come forward.
Hi, my name is Joyce McLam. My husband and I live, actually we can see the back of Mr. Parker's house from ours. We live at 2646 NC Highway 242 North. I'm actually here to do something different than probably what Mr. Parker thinks. I just want to share a little bit with you so you can understand what this impact is. My husband and I have worked and sacrificed for over 30 years to buy a home in the country. Benson is his family home. His grandpa, Bruner, grew up here. We are originally from Fayetteville. Michael has been in law enforcement for almost 40 years, and he continues to serve law enforcement. We both have very high-pressure jobs. He's in Cumberland County. I'm in Wake County. And we both agreed all these years that we would work long hours and sacrifice so that one day we could afford a home in the country. And so we chose Benson because it is his family home, and we wanted to live outside the city limits. We've saved all these years and given everything that we've got and poured every dime into this property. It's important to know that we bought our home in 2009. The error was made in 2008. If we had known that that land was industrial, we never would have purchased this home. Never. Because that's not what we were looking for. We chose a home without real close neighbors so we could enjoy privacy and not have people right next door. With him being a law enforcement officer, we've had a lot of negative things happen, as well as positive, living in neighborhoods, because some people who don't like law enforcement dump their trash in your front yard. We've had a lot of experiences. So we just decided for us it would be better just to have a little breathing space around us. So in 2009, we found our dream home here in Benson, and we sacrificed for this. And it's very upsetting to have anyone say that this type of industry would not negatively affect the lifestyle that we have chosen. Nobody has the right to say that unless you're going to live beside it. So to hear that say the statement of that the changes outweigh, the benefits outweigh the inconveniences. This isn't just an inconvenience. This means I walk out my side porch and through the woods I can see strangers. I can see strange men. I can't go to my car in my nightgown now. It's a whole different world than what we have sacrificed and paid for. We have no other home. And this is nothing personal against Mr. Parker. I think he's a very nice man. But he has another home in the mountains. We don't have another place that we have to escape and to have that downtime. This is it for us. Again, we never would have purchased this home in 2009 if we had known that that was light industry. So because of that error, we feel that the town of Benson and Johnston County both bear the burden of that mistake and that error. It's a huge error for us, and what seems like a small error for the town and for the county, that with your vote and with a word and with a pen, you can just correct it tonight and be done with it. That's a small error for you, but it's huge. It's life-changing for me and my husband. And I really want you to understand that. This is everything to us. I'm just trying to hold it together because this is just so devastating. It has just really taken the joy out of us walking outside and seeing the sky and hearing the nighttime. Now we're going to hear trucks and we're going to hear cars and we're going to hear people and we're going to see lights in the distance lighting up parking lots. Everything's different. And so I'm not saying tonight that I think that we're going to win. So I've chosen a different approach. My husband and I have prayed about it. So what I've given you is a few pages from the Johnston County Land Development Design Manual. And I've highlighted just a few portions that speak to what can be done and what we feel should be done, proving that the request I'm about to make is a reasonable request. On page 12, under section 6B, it speaks to the fact that landscape areas are required to separate different zoning areas and the nuisances arising from these developments, whatever they may be. On page 13, under section C1, landscape requirements, this indicates the minimum, this is just the minimum landscape planting requirements for the development site. Under 1A, the chart indicates that we would fall under landscape area C, type C. On page 14, under 1B2, landscape area C would use an 8-foot wall or an 8-foot opaque fence along with plant material. And then one last one I'm going to note and speak to is on page 16 under number 11, existing vegetation. Tree preservation is encouraged with all landscaped areas. So our request is that when you look at the map, the plat map itself, which I've given you a picture of, I've given you two pictures, we're requesting a 100-foot natural buffer that is already existing right there around us and behind us. Because this is not just going to impact one side of us. This impacts the front of our home, the side of our home, and behind our home. And if you look at Exhibit 1, let me explain what that is. That is a close-up of the plat map image of our property, 2646 NC Highway 242, and its boundary lines are indicated by the yellow lines. You can see what that looks like. I gave you that up close. The blue line represents the 100-foot natural buffer request. That buffer already exists. Mr. Parker wouldn't have to come in and landscape anything. It's already there. In Exhibit 2, the property shown with the red boundary line is the 85-acre, the two properties together, not just the 84, but it also includes that other section. And that's the part that he's requesting to be rezoned to fix the error that was made in 2008. The blue line represents yet again the 100-foot natural buffer consisting already of existing trees and vegetation that we request remain intact. When you see the comparison of the amount of land to be rezoned into light industrial and our 100-foot natural buffer request, our request is proven small when compared to how much new construction will affect our quality of life. I think that's a small buffer to ask for. It is the town's responsibility and duty to make this up to us. And really, we feel that nothing less than a natural buffer of 100 feet would be acceptable to keep out strangers and to keep out the noise and the loss of privacy, the unsightly views of just buildings and cars of people we don't know, the glare of lights, the unknown strangers that will walk around, that will hear their voices. I mean, this is the least that we feel that the town can do, and ask of Mr. Parker to make it bearable for us to live in our dream home that is no longer a dream home. I'm not sure if anybody else here tonight represents the people that live on the other side of the 84 acres, because there is a neighborhood back there. You can see that. It's like number 2 over there on the image of the second page. So if they're not here tonight, maybe they just don't care, or maybe they're too busy. But we're here, and I've been to every hearing, meeting, every night to fight for this for me and my husband. And one of my neighbors is here tonight, Drew, and I know that he would agree as well. His family's going to be impacted by it as well. And I really just want you to understand, I'm not trying to push out Mr. Parker and his plans. I know life changes and things have to move on. But we have just invested, we've been married for 42 years, and we've invested everything into this property. And to have to walk outside and just hear it and see it, this is no longer a dream for us. And I'm just asking for that 100-foot buffer. I think it's a small thing to ask for when you look at the enormity of the property. I'm not asking him to stop what he wants to do. I just want us to still have a sanctuary around us. That's all I'm asking for, because my husband has worked so long, and for the public. Every day he puts on a gun and a vest and has for almost 40 years to protect all of us, and this is a small thing to ask for him. Thank you.
Anyone else want to come forward that is opposed?
Hi, I'm Robert Andrew Joyner. I'm Joyce's neighbor. Live at 2634 NC Highway 242 North. I actually wasn't sure if I was going to speak or not, but kind of hearing what's going on, I did want to at least say a little bit and support Joyce and her family. We're similar in that we moved in, my family, my wife, 2 kids. We moved in a little bit before, I guess it's been 17 years we've been in the property, so I can't plead ignorance other than I didn't probably do my due diligence at the time that we were looking at the property to know that there was potential for light industrial adjacent to our property. But I will say that we're talking about decisions that were made 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, accidents, mistakes that were made 13 years ago. But in 2021, the planning board made some decisions as far as the land use, proposed land use for future. And again, right now everything is residential agriculture in our area. But they made the decision in 2021 for commercial, that's the vision that this corridor should be for the future, not necessarily light industrial. I'm not an idiot. I know that development's going to happen. Things are going to change. One of the reasons we bought the property was it's so far off of 242 that if it's widened later, it's not going to affect us. you know, the bulk of our property, 6.5 acres, the bulk of the property is well off the road. We have a narrow driveway access, and then the bulk of the property is off the road. And we, for the exact same reason that my neighbor was talking about, we fell in love with the place. You know, we moved to this area. I've lived in North Carolina my entire life, born and raised in Wilson, went to NC State, married my wife, made, I won't say the mistake of, but some days I think the mistake of, the challenges of marrying a horse person. And we moved to this area so that we could have the horses here with us. And we're talking about, you know, the property that is now adjacent to our horse pasture. So, you know, I want to be full disclosure. There's no horses there right now because one of our last horse passed away 2 years ago, and I have teenage boys, and we have 2 full-time jobs. But that's our horse pasture with the you know, ability to have us have horses back in there at any point. And that's the other side of that horse pasture is what we're talking about. You know, not you know, a couple hundred feet from our house. So we're in the same type of situation where I'm concerned about what would be on the other side of that, you know, that area. Again, I'm not an idiot. I know things change. When we bought the house, I envisioned, okay, you know, this is a large undeveloped tract. Something's going to go in there. But light industrial was not anywhere in my, you know, in my thoughts there. So I would say that, you know, while I love the idea of the buffer, I also say that, you know, your planning looked at ultimately the vision for this corridor be commercial, and that could happen someday, but not light industrial. So I would, you know, like you to consider, you know, if not just the buffer, I would like you to consider that it not be rezoned. Thank you.
Anyone else wants to come opposed? Okay, we close the public hearing. Discussion amongst the commissioners. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Ms. Joseph a question. I want you to explain to me again what the planning board's report was on this property. Also, I want you to give me their recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. So the planning board heard roughly the information that you've heard here this evening about the request. They had questions about why at this particular time is this coming forth after so many years of this era existing. They wanted to know, would the town be in, have potential litigation if it is rezoned to industrial? And they also consider the future land use map and the comprehensive land use map, as well as the testimony that was provided that evening by the adjacent property owners. So with all of that information, they determined that this request was inconsistent with our adopted plans and policies, and that it would not be reasonable, that it would impact the adjacent properties negatively, and they did not recommend approval of this request.
So it is inconsistent with our land use.
Yes, yes, yes. And that does not necessarily invalidate the request. And general statute does allow for the governing body to amend their map to a request that's inconsistent, and it would effectively amend your future land use map at the same time.
It occurred in 2008 when Cassandra and I were sitting on this board. I know from 301 out of Benson all the way to 40 Highway, all we could talk about is this was the only area that we could go light industrial or commercial with. I mean, that was it. So when was the land use plan, comprehensive land use plan, when did it come about from 2008? Was it in place before or after?
Well, our former land use plan and future land use map was adopted in 2010 or right after, I believe it was started the process in 2009 and was adopted in 2010. That plan identified the area as residential agriculture. The future land use map identified it as more mixed use, a mixed use district on NC 242 that incorporated residential as well as commercial uses. The most recent plan and future land use map was adopted in 2021, and they looked at the site, particularly focus area 3 of our comprehensive land use plan, and they thought that the best uses on 242 in this particular site would be commercial, and so that is reflected on our future land use map today.
Well, in saying that, at that time, as far back as that goes, this is the only land that was available that could have been used for anything commercial going on. I mean, we have from Dog Eye Road all the way down. We've got the credit union. We've got Liberty Commons. We've got the medical center. We have got gas stations, and CP&L, when it was CP&L, was buying the property right on the other side of 40 to put a distribution center in there. Now, that was before they ever went in with Duke Power. That fell through, but all the way down is nothing but commercial. We have got Smithfield Foods off Gilbert Road that go that way. Everything that the town was looking at that time was going to be nothing except commercial. We didn't have Morgan Road at the time. We hadn't looked at Morgan Road at the time, and the land, the property that was available, I mean, Mr. Parker or anybody else out there could put 500 homes out there, and the people that live there right now are going to have the very same problem. You take something, Dale's not going to put any trucking companies out there as far as we know. He's not going to damage his house any, but say, okay, we're going to make this residential, and he can sell it to any developer he wants the way houses are going up and put 500 homes out there. That takes away from the woods. It takes away from your neighbors. I'm sorry, but she still couldn't go out in her nightgown, I don't think, with that many homes, because it changes things. What we have always been talking about, we do not want to be another 42 highway. 42 was a hole in the wall. I used to go up to 42 to a chief's meeting, and their fire station was not as big as this room right here. They had to pull the trucks out for us to go in. Right now, Cleveland area and 42 has got 3 fire stations. They got full-time firemen, and you cannot get around there, and the residents at that time were saying the same thing I'm hearing. I really thought we were trying to do the right thing in making an area that can be industrial or commercial, that, and the residential, you've got residentials popping up, little places, but that is not an area to me for a subdivision to go into that would house 300, 400, 500 homes.
Right, and
now, as far as that goes back, though, and I think Cassandra can back me up, We thought the whole area. I hate that the county screwed up and dropped this in their lap, because I was under the impression, until the map started surfacing up in the last 6 months, that this was already for industrial and commercial use all the way out.
No, well, it's identified as commercial on our latest future land use map. Industrial on our future land use map is identified and concentrated more so off of 95. But again, you know, they in our study for the latest adopted comprehensive land use plan and our future land use map, it does reflect for commercial development, just not industrial. There are uses that overlap certainly for commercial and industrial, but you do have intenser uses in an industrial that is identified as not suitable for that area because of the proximity to residential neighborhood, existing residential neighborhoods. And
Is there any
so,
other questions?
She's still talking.
Oh, I thought she finished.
No.
and so that is, you know, the consideration that we are looking at this evening, that yes, it is identified as commercial. You do have the proximity to residential, and so this request would be in today's standards inconsistent with our adopted plans and policies. But my recommendation was to approve it because of the history of the site and what we have seen, the statement from the county, as well as Mrs. McLam alluded to, development standards. We can apply Johnston County's design manual, but the town of Benson certainly has its own development standards that require district boundary buffers for incompatible uses. And that's why in my analysis, I state that with proper site plan development, because we have to look at all of the uses that would be allowed in that I-1 district and not just one particular use. But being that you do have a site that would be adjacent to residentially zoned properties and uses, our development code would automatically stipulate a Class C buffer on those adjacent property lines. So site design will be very critical in working with whomever, if the map is amended this evening, to work with them to ensure that any negative impacts are mitigated as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Well, let me tell you, I have been given 2 pages, or 2 books, really, of information. I am not ready to vote on this. When I vote on something, I want to make sure I know what I'm voting on. Because you know what? The same thing will happen again years down the road, and they'll say, well, you know what? That board in 2023 or 2023 decided that this is what we would do. So I want to make sure I know what I'm doing.
Yes, ma'am. And these are the approval criteria that we have in our code. Consistency with adopted plans and policies, suitability of the subject property for uses permitted by the current versus the proposed, whether the proposed change tends to improve the balance of uses or meets a specific need or demand in the town, the capacity of adequate facilities and services, including schools, roads, recreation facilities, wastewater treatment, et cetera. It has been determined that the legal purposes for which zoning exists is not contravened. It has been determined that there will be no adverse effect upon adjoining property owners unless such effect can be justified by the overwhelming public good or welfare. And it has been determined that no one property owner or small group or property owners will benefit materially from the change to the detriment of the general public. So those are the approval criteria. And then when you consider general statute, the measure for amending your zoning map is it consistent, is it reasonable, and within the public interest? And so those are the things that, you know, you must consider and weigh the error that was that we have accounted for this evening when it transitioned in the map era, but also today's standards and what the town has identified as this area. So those are the things that I believe that to consider. And if you decide to amend your map and it is inconsistent, you want to make sure that you state in your consideration of this request why it is reasonable even if it is inconsistent. Why is it in the public interest to rezone this, this property even though it is inconsistent with your adopted plans and policies?
I make a motion that we approve, since the approval of the criteria has been made, I make a motion that we approve the rezoning of the property on 242.
Okay, and that it is inconsistent, but you still making that approval too.
Yes.
And it is reasonable and in the public interest.
We had denied this 60 days ago, stating that we could look over what we had in the next 30 days. Then it was postponed again, and I have looked over it. There's been some new information that has come up, but all the information, all we're trying to do is not have another 42 highway right here in Benson. We have to have some rules and regulations, and you've got to be able to put something in and grow. And I think I think I would want to approve.
Well, I think I wouldn't.
Well,
I have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
Ayes have it. The number RZ 2020-04 is approved.
Thank you.
Now we're to RZ 2023-05.
Thank you. Okay, so we are moving further east in town on East Main Street. We have a request by the property owners, Mr. Glenn and Savon Barefoot. They would like to rezone their two contiguous parcels that consist of 0.44 acres from R6 residential to B2 neighborhood business. Currently, the uses, one of the lots is vacant and the other lot has a single-family dwelling on it that has been used as a residential use in the past. This request is within the town of Benson's corporate limits. The utilities would be served by the town of Benson, and the primary uses and zoning districts in the area consist of commercial as well as residential. You have commercial properties that front East Main Street or NC 50 South. You can see on our current zoning map, you have parcels going back to the west towards South Walton Avenue. This site is less than 0.5 miles from Interstate I-95. And so going back towards I-95 and South Walton Avenue, you have commercially zoned properties that are zoned highway business, but also to the south of the property, you do have the Eastwood subdivision that consists of single-family residential. And then going further on 50 South, you do have B2 neighborhood business. Across from the site on East Main Street, you do have commercial as well as industrially zoned property and uses. Our future land use map, as well as our comprehensive land use plan, are consistent with this request. It has, you see there on the map there, that it does identify this area as best suitable for commercial development. The planning board, they did review this request last week, and they recommended approval, stating that it is consistent, reasonable, and within the public interest to rezone it to neighborhood business. Some of the uses in the neighborhood business are neighborhood retail, a child care facility, office, and restaurant. Neighborhood business is primarily intended to serve the surrounding residential neighborhood. Therefore, the uses within that district are not as intense as a, let's say, a highway business. And so you would have neighborhood retail, neighborhood service versus general retail and general services. And we thought that that was the most suitable due to its proximity to the Eastwood subdivision. And I won't belabor you with the approval criteria again, but you still have the same. This is a general rezoning request. We're looking at all of the uses that could encompass this zoning district versus just one particular use. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions regarding this request.
And the difference in B2, which that's what we're asking on this
Yes.
to go to. What is a regular restaurant zone? B1? What?
Restaurants are actually allowed in the B1, that's our central business district, B2 neighborhood, as well as highway business. So restaurant would likely be its highest intensity.
What's the big difference? So if they come up and we rezone this B2 and somebody wants to put a restaurant there, what's the difference in B2 and B1 again?
Well, both, all of our,
Why wouldn't we do this B1?
B1 is our central business district, so it's primarily in our downtown district.
Okay.
The next would be highway business.
So really, that would be the reason. This is not downtown. This wouldn't be a downtown restaurant. It would, but they could still put a restaurant there.
They could still put a restaurant, but they could not put let's say a B3, because you do have B3 in the area, and we've rezoned properties to B3 recently. A B3, and you see the site there, is right at the corner of South Eastwood Drive and East Main Street. So you have East Parish, and you have the Eastwood subdivision that's directly behind. So a highway business would allow a vehicle service and repair or a contractor's office, or a general retail typically consists of more of your big box store, whereas a neighborhood retail would be more of your souvenir, confectionery shops, bakeries, things like that, designed to serve the immediate residential district, versus a B3 highway business is intended to capture a larger portion of the community. But a restaurant could be in the B1, B2, B3. It would all, come down to, at that point, site plan approval, but it would be allowed in the B2 district.
Any other questions of Aaron? I open the public hearing.
Thank you.
The party in favor, come forward. That's presenting the RZ 2023-05.
My name is Glenn Barefoot. I live at 1401 Benson Road in Garner. If you think Benson's got problems, go north. It's something. I moved up there in 1962. But let me say that my wife and I, since our parents passed away, we've owned the rental part probably about 20 years. And as some of you may know, rental business on a residential level can be tough. Nobody wants to cut the yard, knock holes in the walls, and so on. But we thought if we could go this route, then maybe it might be better. Now, frankly, my wife and I have been married a long time, but most of the time she sees things one way and I see it another way. That's all right. Makes a good argument. But we've always settled our differences if we had any, and we do. And we just thought that going this way, if we could get it rezoned, would save a lot of problems coming from Garner, loading up all of my equipment to cut the grass and go back. And I've done it so many times. So I just ask that each one of you consider letting us do that. And it'll still be our home till somebody wants to pay a stupid price for it. And that's done. So thank you for hearing me out.
Does anybody have any questions of Glenn?
Mr. Barefoot, are you wanting this done to B2 so you can actually do something with it?
No.
No?
No, it'll be still rented,
Uh-huh.
but on a commercial status.
How is this gonna benefit you, unless maybe somebody's interested in, you think that maybe if you rezone it to B2, that you may have more interest in somebody buying it?
That's possible.
Okay.
And yes, and you don't have such a turnaround of
Yes, sir.
people moving in, moving out. You got the same damage inside a rental house if they stay 2 years or stay 10 years. I've experienced that.
Yeah, we're familiar with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Glenn. Anyone else wants to come and speak in favor? No one else coming in favor? Anyone wants to come and go opposed? Anyone want to come and speak opposed? No one coming forward, I close the public hearing. Is there any conversation amongst the board?
I'm ready to make a motion.
I'd
Okay.
like to ask Aaron one thing, is this is this in line where we need to be on making this B2?
Yes, it
With
is.
everything surrounding and everybody be happy with it?
Yes, it is consistent with our adopted plans and policies, and so it would definitely be consistent. And also, again, you know, when you have property site plan development, that's another stage if it's ever developed, and you may have district boundary buffers for anything that is adjacent with residential.
Thank you, dear.
Sir.
Are you ready, Mayor, for a motion?
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve.
And that it is consistent
With
and
all the consistencies.
reasonable and in the public interest, granting approval. All right, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Uh-huh.
Opposed, no.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Barefoot.
All right, this is the last request on West Martin Street. Wonderful evening. Yes.
2306.
Yes, sir. Again, we have a request to amend our zoning map. This time we have a .47 acre lot on West Martin Street. It is owned by T&T Boys, and they're is the property owner, and the petitioner is Tommy Deans, representing the property owner. Currently, the site is vacant, has no uses, it's unimproved. It is within the corporate limits of the town. It's just off of US Highway 301 South, and it is currently zoned R11. They would like to keep it residential, but would like to rezone it to the R6 district. The difference primarily in the R6 and the R11 is the lot size. There are some uses that are allowed in R6 and R11 that are not the same, but predominantly it's for single-family dwellings and residential uses. And so in the area, you have the surrounding district is predominantly R6, and you do have a lot that's adjacent to it that is zone R11 today. Some of the uses in the area, you do have commercial just across from the site that's zone B2, and then you do have a lot that that is zoned industrial. And so you have residential as well as commercial uses. Right across, you do have a self-storage facility, and then a little further going towards further west on Martin Street, you have a light manufacturing, Fanatics, that has been there for at least the last 8-10 years. And then to the southern boundary of the property, it is residential. We do have some new homes that are being constructed in the area, 5 new homes that are going up just at Farmer and West Hill Street, single-family homes. This is an older neighborhood, and so we are seeing a resurgence of development, and a lot of the homes that have been in there over the years, older homes, deteriorated and dilapidated. We've seen an influx of interest of infill and rehabilitation of the neighborhood. The planning board, and as well our future land use map, as well as our comprehensive land use plan, does identify this particular property and area for high-density residential. So it is in line with our plans and policies. Staff, in my analysis, I recommend approval that is consistent, that it is reasonable, and it is not a situation for small-scale zoning. The planning board heard this request last week as well, and they recommended approval of this change.
Any questions over there?
Aaron, this is right straight across from the, straight across from the storage buildings?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and they are clearing all these lots out. Are we gonna sit here and do this and come right back next month with another, proposal to change another one, or is it R6 on both sides?
Just the
right
one
now?
side. So
Is this
just,
the only, is this the only one right now that's R11?
no, it's not the only one that's, I'm sorry, it's not the only one that's R11, but it is the only one that is being requested with a change in the zoning district. And they, you know, this particular site is, you know, they'd like to rezone it to potentially have, able to
Potentially, though,
subdivide it.
The 3 lots on the right side of it and the 2 lots on the left side of it could come back in the next 6 months if they did this and say, we want heirs like that too, because they are going to put up maybe some more little houses.
That's right, they could.
Okay, so we can, there are 11, they could build on residential on it right now, but they couldn't be quite as big as R6?
They would be bigger, the lot size would be bigger. So if they were to rezone to R6, they could get a smaller footprint. They could have a 6,000 square foot lot versus an 11,000 square foot lot.
Okay, so smaller houses to go to R6.
It- Smaller lot size. Doesn't necessarily mean a smaller house. It would just be a smaller lot.
Setbacks are different too, right?
Yes, and the setbacks are different.
Well, is this the one that's they're clearing out
Yes.
now?
Uh-huh.
How they gonna get up there off Market Street?
They are building on another lot right over there as well, behind it, that did not need a rezoning. So,
And every time you pass, a little more is being cleared, and that's what I'm saying. On both sides of it, you've got areas that it would be nice to clear them and put something up there. But I'm just wondering if the neighbors know that we're changing R11 to R6, and we're gonna be back in here with another request.
yes, it very well could.
It could be.
It could be, and the town has the authority to preemptively rezone. If that's something that the town desires to do, they could, you know, not wait for them to
But
come back.
R6 is the way to go. Is that what the planning board is stating?
Yes.
Any other questions? Oh, we open the public hearing. The requester, come forward.
Good evening. Appreciate y'all being here. My name is Tommy Dean. I'm at P.O. Box 543 in Garner, just up the road. As Ms. Joseph stated, we are trying to do something that's consistent with the surrounding lots and building that's currently taking place. We do feel like this would add a lot of value to the area, obviously tax base too. There's a lot of trash on those adjoining properties, right to the side and to the back, and so we have begun cleaning up that area. It seemed like there was a dump there before. I don't know what it was being used for, but there was a lot of trash.
It was a house, and there was a house fire, and after that house fire, the people, some of them got burnt. They never came back, and it's
just stayed in the ground.
Yeah, it just stayed there. Nobody ever cleaned it up.
Okay.
On that corner back your way, or back where they're cleared.
Okay. We don't feel like this would negatively impact the street or the neighborhood. And, you know, we do kind of specialize in affordable housing. I know that's something that's very important right now. Most of our houses that we're building in the area on West Hill behind there and further down on West Martin, we're kind of in that $250,000 range, which is there's just not a lot of housing right now, single-family homes that are in that range right now. So, you know.
Anybody have any questions here?
I'm glad it's being cleaned up. I just want to make sure it's being cleaned up the right way. 10 years from now, we don't want any more shacks that we have to look at, or this other board, which I'm not gonna be up here then, they're gonna have to make that decision where we screwed up or we made it right. So,
Thank you. Anyone else want to come forward to speak in favor? No one coming for? Anybody wants to come forward to speak against? Anyone wants to come and speak against? We close the public hearing. Any questions the board has?
I'm ready to
I'll
make the
entertain a motion.
I'm ready to make it. I make the motion that we, do I have to say all that, Ms. Joseph?
Adopts a statement of consistency and finds that the case RZ 2023-06 is consistent with adopted goals, objectives, and policies of the town of Benson, and it is reasonable and in the public interest, hereby granting approval.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, Kim and Tyler.
Okay, is there a slide or no? Okay.
It'd be nice if this other TV was working.
No, it's not. It's still broke. We need to get it replaced. Sorry. We come before you tonight. This is basically our last step before we have to apply to ALE for the social district of our Printer Drive Alley. As you all know, we received a grant from Electricities to do the alley, and then we used occupancy taxes to finish the alley. So in regards to the furniture and the lights being strung, so all this was paid through grant funds, and we would like to petition or to have a resolution passed by the board so we can send an application to ALE to make that area a social district. The social district will be from the corner of Cornerstone to the corner of Dr. Rayner's office, and then all the way back to the front corners of Fainting Goat, so along Parish Drive. So it will be that full corridor. You see there is a picture in your packet of what that looks like. It's Exhibit A, highlighted in yellow. The social district would only be open at certain hours, so that part of the social district, we have to have an operation maintenance plan. So that's all in here. So it's an ordinance and an operation maintenance plan. So we have followed all the rules that we're supposed to do through the ALE. We are proposing that the social district would be open on Tuesday and Wednesday from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., Thursday, Friday, Saturday from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. These do coincide with the two businesses that would be able to allow us to even have a social district, which is Salvaged Heirlooms and the Fainting Goat. They would have to have a 16-ounce clear cup. It has to have a logo on it, which Tyler has designed, and it does say Social District, Drink Responsibly, B21. They could go into the Fainting Goat or Salvaged Heirlooms. They could order a beverage, pay for it. They could go to a food truck, or they could go to Cornerstone, if Cornerstone will allow it, order food, and then they can go into the alley and sit down and eat and enjoy their beverage and eat their food. Salvaged Heirlooms has actually remodeled the back of their store. I'm not sure if any of you have been over there, but they have fully accepted this and have put in a brand new door, so they have a front entrance and a back entrance now. It looks amazing. We have worked with the art board on design. The garden club donated all the flowers and planted all the flowers, and they're actually maintaining the flowers right now. And so we would like to get this passed so we can continue moving forward. One thing I'll note, if you are a business in this social district, so Dr. Rayner, you would be one, you would have to have a sign displayed in your window if you permit or you do not permit. So we have to provide those signs for y'all. So I would assume that Dr. Rayner's office, the church, Barefoot Insurance, Parish Fire and Safety, they would probably have a sign in their window that says they do not permit. And then Fainting Goat, Salvaged Heirlooms, and hopefully Cornerstone would have a sign in their window that they say they do permit. Tyler, did I get everything?
Let me ask you one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about your hours again on Sunday.
So on Sunday, it's from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So Fainting Goat has actually opened up on Sundays for Sunday football. So it's basically mimicking their hours. So it's after church, and they close at 6. So 1 to 6.
Any other questions? Ike, do you write this?
I reviewed it and I amended parts of it, but it's actually from a template that,
That's a big ordinance.
Well, the ordinance has to basically state everything. I mean, if you look at the ordinance versus the maintenance plan, it pretty much restates what's in the maintenance plan. So, yeah.
I got a question, and we kind of discussed this already, about what could happen, bring your own stuff. Law enforcement's, they're good to go as far as enforcing everything, right?
They're here. Greg, do you have any issues with, I mean, they will have to, if there is, you can only have that plastic cup.
Right.
And that plastic cup has to have that label.
Yeah.
You're not going to get, I mean, we're not going to give the label out to anybody in the public. It's going to come from Salvaged Heirlooms and from Fainting Goat. And so if there's anything other than that in the alley, then ALE could come in. They could likely pull our permit, and then they could be, or I'm assuming, I'll ask the law, I'm assuming that they could get a
Because
ticket.
I got a feeling a lot of people is gonna be having it in their cars and stuff like that, so.
Yeah, well, and we work closely with ALE during this whole process, and including having conversations with the agent that covers our area. And he's advised us that they're able and willing to come anytime that we feel like there's a need that they can come in and do spot checks and targeted enforcement if necessary. Hopefully something like that won't be an issue, but we stand ready to do that if we have to.
So will y'all be occasionally patrolling over there, walking through the area,
Certainly.
observing?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, we'll keep an eye on it, at least as it ramps up. Eventually it will sort itself out, but yeah, we'll keep a close eye on it for the initial period.
Anything else? I'll entertain a
I
motion.
got a question. I know this is a dumb
Okay.
question, but, so how did, is it in the ordinance and all, what if I bring a six-pack and just pour it in the cup?
Well, you have to have the label on the cup.
What if I have a cup? What if I buy a cup and then I bring my own and pour it in the cup? I'm just asking.
I don't think that's, I don't think that's allowed, but practically.
It wouldn't be allowed. I mean,
How do you know that? How do you?
Well,
They'd have to see them do it.
they would have to probably see them do it. And I'll say, Angel and Chris at Salvaged Heirlooms have, I mean, they have really played up the social district. I think if they see somebody doing that, they're probably going to report it. I mean,
Alcohol would be.
yeah, I mean, that hurts their business. That hurts Fainting Goat's business. You know, if Tim saw it, he would definitely probably report it as well.
The reason I ask it is, I know probably somebody probably's gonna do that and not meaning anything bad, is to do it, you know?
Mhm.
They get warning to start with or something.
Yeah, and really that's primarily more of the business owner's responsibility, because they'll be there seeing it more so than we will, unless we just happen to be walking through or something. But yeah, education for like the first 6 months is gonna be critical because this is new for us.
And it's not like we're going to hopefully approve this ordinance and maintenance plan. You need to make sure in your motion that you approve the ordinance and you approve the plan. It's not like we're going to turn this into ALE tomorrow and next week we'll have approval. My understanding is ALE, like every other state agency, is behind on approvals. And so it's generally been taking at least 2 to 3 months. I don't know if you've heard. That's kind of what Tyler and I have heard. Yeah. So we'll have plenty of time to educate the public, educate the businesses about it.
Those are signs, right?
And there'll be signs displayed, yes.
By statute, there have to be signs at the entrance.
At each
And when you leave.
Yeah.
So it's just beer, is it just beer?
So it would be beer and wine because Salvaged Heirlooms does sell wine. Yeah, but nothing, that's all they sell is beer and wine. And Fainting Goat sells wine as well.
On the outside venue, are there going to be any TVs up? You said something about Sunday hours, and they close at 6.
Fainting Goat.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, the town will not put TVs in the alley. That is not in our plans right now.
Okay.
What I was saying, Fainting Goat is open now from 1 to 6 on Sundays. When we originally had started talking about this, it likely would not have been open on Sundays, but they have changed their hours of operation,
You said
so.
something about football. And
Right.
Game start at 3 o'clock. It's not going to be over until 8 o'clock.
Right.
I'm just.
No,
it's
it will
not gonna
only,
be like that.
no, it will only be open for the hours that the businesses are open. Yeah.
So is that, what if they say, well, hey, the 4 o'clock game gets over at 7, so we want to change our hours to 7, that automatically change the?
No, we would have to come back and change the maintenance plan. We would have to change, we'd have to amend the resolution and the plan, and we'd have to reapprove and send it to ALE before any of that could happen. Yeah.
You'd have to vote on it.
And you'd have to, yeah, you definitely have to vote on it.
I entertain a motion.
Well, it's a public, it's a public hearing.
And I'll go ahead and tell you, I threw this out to some other municipal attorneys. I can't tell you there's a distinct rule that requires a public hearing, but I've talked with a lot of other local government attorneys who, municipal clients have approved these, and most of them went through some kind of public hearing or public input type session. I did not anticipate that we'd have so many tonight, but just to go through the motions of it, because it's something very new, this law's only been in place a couple of years, if that, and certainly new to Benson. I would just say, I don't think there's probably anyone here who wants to talk about it, but I would throw that out, just let the public, if there anybody here that came to talk about that can weigh in, and that way you've had a public hearing.
Well, you were talking about something else that we were going to vote on.
Well, no, you're gonna vote on this, but I just say, I would open a public hearing because this is.
No, but I'm asking a question.
The resolution and
Is
the,
this ordinance, is it going to have something else that you mentioned that we were going to get approved?
you need to approve the ordinance and the maintenance and operations plan.
Yeah.
You need to approve
Is
both.
both of it in here?
Yes, sir.
I'll open a public hearing for an ordinance to establish the Town of Benson Social District, Ordinance 052023. Anybody that wants to come and speak in favor or against, come see. All right, anyone who wants to come and speak in favor? That's already been done. Kim did that. Anybody that's opposed, come forward. We close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Now, we're gonna have a motion.
Before we
To
make a
approve.
motion, I'll make the motion. Before that, I know that y'all, I know I know the answer to this, but there's no way we can get a little less precise on this, because it's crazy to have to go through the process to change from 6:30 on Sunday or something. You can say the hours the businesses are open, or.
No, you have to be precise. From everything I've seen, it has to be precise times, because we'll have to post them at, like, on the signs coming in the social district and leaving the social district, like, these are the times that it's open.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to make so much work.
They could go back inside and finish or watch the rest of the game or something.
If they stay open, yeah.
If they stayed open later, that
Yeah.
obviously.
And it's Eastern time, not any time.
Right, Eastern time.
Time in North Carolina.
I'll still entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion that we approve the maintenance agreement and the thing to send to.
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. A petition for voluntary annexation.
All right, we actually have two tonight. The first public hearing is for ABJ Investments, Brian Rayner. It's a subdivision off of NC 27 West and West Main Street, approximately 176 single-family detached lots, about 102 acres. They have met all the findings that they need to be, so in your packet, I have, there's a certificate of sufficiency in there showing that they have met all the criteria needed. Also, at a previous board meeting, the MOU was approved, so we can open the public hearing.
So you want to open the public hearing?
Yeah, we can open it.
Okay. The voluntary annexation for ABJ Investments LLC, CEO Brian Rayner. And I'll open a public hearing for anyone to come and speak in favor. No one coming forward. I'll entertain a motion for somebody to come and speak against. Nobody coming. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make that motion.
I was going to just say, make one suggestion. This will be on both of these. Just for the record and the minutes, that these are approved contingent upon the terms that are set forth in the MOU. Those have been signed by the applicants. It's more important for the second one that you're about to approve anyway, but then the first one just really was, it was contingent on some availability of some monies, and if they didn't annex, and obviously now they have, but the second one is kind of important, but we do have those terms in there, and I would just suggest if you make those motions to approve, contingent on the terms of the MOU.
I make a motion to approve contingent on the terms of the MOU.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Voluntary annexation by Chemco.
Okay, the next one we have is voluntary annexation, Camco, Andrew Roadman. The address is 191 McClamtart Road. It's approximately 5.86 acres. It's going to be a contractor's office. Again, they have met all the criteria. The certificate of sufficiency is in your packet. As Ike was saying, they do have an MOU that both parties have agreed on, so you just need to open up the public hearing.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Public hearing. We'll open the public hearing. Anyone that wants to come and speak in favor, come forward. Anyone that wants to come and speak opposed, come forward. I see no one, Kevin. I close the public hearing. I will entertain a motion to approve.
I made a motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. Opposed. Old business, question from the board about proposed update to UDO. Aaron.
Thank you. I just wanted to get any feedback from you all following up to the workshop that we had on October 26th. If there are any comments, questions that you may have this evening, just wanted to solicit that feedback. I've been working with the consultant. We've been meeting daily to go through each chapter, making any revisions, tweaking it, last minute things. So we've been working on it every single day, chapter by chapter. The goal is to have the draft that would encompass any comments that we have received from you all or from the planning board, the steering committee, any last comments. And once that is incorporated into the draft document, we'd like to post it to the town's website for viewing from the public and really start to advertise that and take it to hearing in December.
Is there any question from the board?
I submitted mine.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, under new business, consider approval of primary and secondary agent of FEMA BRIC grant
BRIC grant.
documents. Kimberly.
As you all know, since Hurricane Matthew, we have been trying to, that culvert that busted out of the ground, we have been trying to turn that back into just an open stream. We submitted for a grant with FEMA BRIC grant originally, and we were denied. We have resubmitted that grant, and we have been told that we have made it to the next level, which we've been told that's a really good scenario. So what they're asking for is that we have a resolution passed to show primary and secondary agents to be able to sign off on just any documents that come in. So I have myself as the primary, Jay Murray, he is our project manager, as the secondary. And then we have, obviously, it would have to be approved by the governing body, signed by Mayor Medlin. And this is just to approve any documents that come in. Obviously, anything and everything that comes in, we're gonna pass through the board first, but we just.
So we're approving you to sign.
Yes, sir.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Consider approval of closure of Parish Drive from Johnson Street to Lee Street, September the 7th, 2024. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's, so it's very, I would say early, but I did receive an email from a Miss Patty Schmimding. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She has rented the Grove for September the 7th, 2024. She has already done that with the Parks and Rec Department. She is going to be holding an event called Jeepin' with Maxie's Dog Fest. And she is requesting, and she's asking this early because she has to advertise. She is requesting that we close Parish Drive from Johnson Street to Lee Street for this event. I have talked with the police, with Greg, and he says it's good. Captain Brown is throwing up his hand, yes. I have talked with them. They don't have any issues with closing it off for that day. I'm assuming it'll be like an 8 to 5 window of closing the street. So she needed to know that that was going to be doable so she could advertise her event.
Any questions for Kimberly?
And it's a what?
It's called Jeepin' with Maxie's Dog Fest. So I think they'll have, like, on Parish Drive, they'll have like a row of Jeeps is what I'm assuming it's going to be, like almost like a Jeep car show, but also benefiting dogs in some way.
My only question about that is, if somebody else wants to have a road closed off because they're having an event, is that going to be possible?
I have to come to the board for any road closure. So yes, if they ask and it's feasible with the police department. You know, it's just like we've closed off Railroad Street for like Fainting Goat to have a veterans thing. So yeah, we would bring it to the board.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make the motion that we approve.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Consider approval of four-way stop at South Dunn and East Parish Drive. Kimberly.
So this was a request from Commissioner Chandler at the last board meeting that we get it on the agenda. I have spoke with staff. There is some concern with traffic being with the four-way sign being put there. However, they said that they are willing to. We have the signs in the utilities building, and they're willing to put them up, change the light on the caution light to red from yellow to red, and see how it works.
Any questions?
I have a question. I've thought about it, and when people leave the back entrance, they turn to a little short left and then right to go back toward the middle of town. It looks like to me traffic would back up there, and they wouldn't be able to use that back exit.
They talking about McDonald's?
What does McDonald's say about it?
Yeah.
We have not talked with McDonald's. We've talked internally as a staff. Public utilities and police are concerned about traffic being backed up.
I mean, the majority of the time it probably work, but there are certain hours that it would not work. You'd cause problems for McDonald's, customers getting in and out. You'd also cause problems with about there at Parish and Dunn, with the cars backing up all the way to Main Street, and probably stopping traffic on Main Street because people want to turn right. The idea of four-way stops is to stop traffic. Just like 301 going toward Dunn. I've been 20 cars deep, you know, because of the traffic. So I think that I'm not saying there's not a problem with that intersection, because there is, but I think it's going to have to come, somebody's going to have to look at it that specializes at traffic engineering, in my opinion.
Well, who would that be, Dean? Because they're proposing to go ahead with the roundabout at 301 and 50, and that's a cluster. I don't care how many engineers you put out there.
That's DOT. But
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking you. Who's going to come and make that decision?
Traffic engineers.
I run that road 4 times a day. I'm on that road, and I see exactly what you're saying as far as that 4-way stop. But it's dangerous. It is dangerous every time you come out of Food Line and stop there, and you look to your right, you look to your left, and you make that turn, and bam.
Oh, I agree with you. McDonald's site plan, when it was approved, entrance and exit right there is too close to the corner. I agree with you there. But I think that adding a 4-way stop there is going to cause a real problem.
And it is.
If you do 4-way stop, there McDonald's entrance and exit, you'd have to redo it to where people come out, they could only make a right-hand turn to go back to Main Street. Because no way in the world would they'd be able to turn left because of the stop sign right there. It would be a nightmare.
Well, does anybody come out that well, right? And somebody parked in the parking lot comes out.
Yeah, because and if DOT has their way when they do 95, as far as turning, they don't like left-hand turns. So they're trying to fix where everybody comes out of McDonald's turn left. So there was been talks about them fixing that. So, I mean, I don't know, but the only way to get McDonald's, unless you're leaving 95, going down Main Street toward 95, that is the only way you can get into McDonald's off of Main Street. The way people come the opposite way, turning left, that is actually, it's a sign says do not enter.
Yeah, you're right.
So they have to come in off of Dunn Street.
Dunn Street.
But if we create a 4-way stop there, it's going to be a nightmare.
Kim, do you think it's possible to have DOT to look at that spot? Because I remember some years ago, they looked at where the stop sign is. If you're gonna make a left on Main or make a right and go.
But they own Main.
They own Main Street.
One
They
thing
don't
that
own.
could
I mean, I
probably
can
relieve
ask,
the
but I don't know if they
congestion
would.
of that is the stoplight. It'd be nice right there at Fayetteville Street where it goes right into, you know, Food Line, the Mexican restaurant and stuff.
Well, DOT will come and
I mean, I can certainly
they'll
ask.
get their engineers to look at it.
Just to get their opinion, because they've already taught us in the past, well, not us, they already made recommendations in the past where the stop sign is, and I think at that time, someone was requesting a stop light, and they said it would not be a good idea because of the distance.
Yeah, we're trying to
Yeah, I
get
mean, you're
the
talking
stoplight.
400 feet.
Yeah, we tried to get it taken down, they wouldn't take it down.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. I mean, I hate to say it, roundabout, but
See, told you.
either that or closing off that section going to Food Line, because there's 2 entrances off, to get to that area off of Harnett. I mean, that's another feasible way. But I mean, there's different ways.
Close off
It's
what
nothing to do
section,
with-
Parish Street.
It's not a legal
Parish
question.
Drive, going into Food Line.
There's 2 entrances into off of
What if
Harnett
DOT
Street.
tells you to put in a roundabout?
One of them going backwards.
That's what I'm saying, but I mean,
That
we don't wanna
scare
do
you.
none of that, but I mean, a four-way stop, in my opinion, is gonna back up traffic. It's not gonna do it all the time, it's just gonna do it when everybody wants to go to the grocery store at the end of the day, or something like that. That's when you're
And
gonna
that
see
is
it.
a busier intersection, but it sure is working at the Grove on Parish and
There ain't
Lake.
there ain't much traffic on
I
Parish.
know, I said you don't have that truck, but
Yeah.
it sure is working for people to get in there with their kids and stuff.
Oh,
It
well,
makes a
yeah, I
difference.
mean, even when we discussed that about that four-way stop sign, I said it in that meeting. That is the wrong intersection.
It'll probably happen
The
tomorrow,
intersection
but
is
we don't
done.
have any wrecks there. We have them on Dunn and Parish Drive.
Oh, I understand that.
All right, what's the wishes?
I thought you
Entertain a
made
motion for
Didn't you
some
not
kind.
make a
Yeah,
suggestion?
I asked if Kim could see if DOT could give us some advice for that little area as far as.
Yep. I can do that.
Just to get their opinion.
We have a meeting with them in 2 weeks.
What, in town? We had one today with them.
Yeah, I know, but this is our regular meeting.
Oh,
in the
okay.
court.
I can ask.
What
and
do
I
you
can
want to
let
do,
you know.
table it?
No, she said, she made a
Did you make a
decision.
motion?
Yeah, she,
Get to have, Kim to consult with DOT.
Okay.
And you're gonna meet with them, you can find out too. You meet with 'em.
watch, you will put a bridge in.
Hey, that might work.
All right.
Well, we got a nice bridge, but nobody knows it's open.
Yeah.
If we could put up some signs, please, use the new bridge. It's the easiest way to get on and off two
No,
forty.
but I do agree with you, that intersection is bad
It's-
at a certain time.
It's been dangerous.
Maybe a Jersey driver would be.
Town manager's report.
Jersey driver.
All right.
Wait a minute. This resolution that's in this packet, what am I supposed to do with that?
Which one?
It says resolution designation of applicant agent.
That was the brick grant.
Huh?
That was the brick grant for for me and Jay.
All right. Town manager's report.
You have a list of my meetings or dealings, I guess you could call, for the month of October. The most important thing I have for you all is our Mule Days 2023 report. As you can see, you were all there. It was very rainy Mule Days. We did actually were able to call off some of our security staff, specifically Saturday, because we did not have the parade, or the chamber did not have the parade. Now, the vendors and the carnival were allowed to stay open a little bit longer on Sunday. Loretta had called me and asked if she could extend the hours. Seemingly was okay, so we did allow them to do that on Sunday. I have attached our expenditure, our revenue versus expenditure report for you all for Mule Days. You see that it is pretty much town-wide that deal with Mule Days, from police, fire, finance, parks, even Parks and Rec for the Grove, the planning department with inspections, and then our public utilities department, who ensure that it stays clean throughout the whole weekend. Our revenues for Mule Days this year were $55,786.96. Our expenses were $63,639.16. So again, we show a loss for Mule Days of $7,852.20. It is 44% lower than it was last year. If you remember, last year is around $11,000, and we were.
Before was 78.
I was going to say, I have seen it be 55,000 before. So we are actively continuing to try to lower. This year we increased the Mule Days permit fees. Obviously, it's going to be a little skewed because we were able to send security home. So that lessened the manpower that we had to pay in the PD department. We are very well staffed during the Mule Days weekend, and it starts pretty much for us. It starts for us pretty much the beginning of September, but in regards to staffing for Mule Days, you're seeing them start staffing on Monday because we have the drive-through for the golf carts, and then people start ramping up on Wednesday. So lower than last year, still a loss. If you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, We are closed for Thanksgiving, November 23rd and 24th. And don't forget that Christmas on Main is December the 1st from 6 to 9. This will be a Yule parade, so it's making up for the fact that we did not have a Mule Days parade. And so Miss Loretta at the Chamber has combined the Christmas parade with the Mule Days parade. And from a recent poll of the board, you were all amenable to riding on a float. So we do have a float in that parade other than Mr. Chandler, who has a prior engagement of lining up the parade and ensuring that the parade goes on properly. So we hope to see you all there. We will have a Christmas tree lighting prior to the parade. Instead of it being at Benton Square this year, it will be in the Grove. So there is a change in location this year.
And for those that are riding on the wagon in the parade, it comes down Lee Street, which is right in front of the ball fields, come all the way down, and y'all will be able to get on behind the Grove on Parish Drive. It's blocked completely off. We won't have anybody but dance crews and like W.C. Lee and his wife getting on their wagon and the town board getting on right there. So you won't have to try to get to the gym where the wagons are going to be to pick up everybody. You can get parked. You'll be in the Grove. All y'all have to do is walk down to right behind the Grove, and we can load you on the wagon as it comes through. It won't be, and it will go down Main to 301, hang a left, and you'll come right back up Parish Drive. So you will be over wherever you park or getting back into the Grove.
And then definitely stay after the parade for all the events in the Grove. They'll have, the fire department is doing s'mores. The Parks and Recreation Department will have popcorn, and then I believe there's some entertainment from the Benson Foundation of the Arts on the stage. So,
Well, I think there's a lot of food trucks that will be
yeah,
in
food,
the
yep.
Grove, and I think Bernie's Pastries is going to have a food truck in the Grove this year. Some of the vendors that did not get to make any money during Meal Day, I think some of them are coming in, but that's Loretta's deal.
Yep. He's been in more meetings than I have, so. First Friday in December, so December the 1st. Yep. And I'll be sure to send you all a text message just to remind you the week of.
You finished?
I am finished. Just remember, we do not have a second meeting this month because of Thanksgiving, so it was not on the schedule.
All right.
Just real briefly, that I don't think in doing this with y'all, going on 14 years, we had 7 public hearings in one night. That's a lot of really weighty, important, and difficult material to get through. I just want to commend Aaron and Angie, because there's a lot of work goes into all that, and I'm floored that it's not a lot later than it is right now. So thank y'all. Thank the two of you very much.
Max?
Well, the only thing comes to mind is, we just had an election, and our three were unopposed, and we won pretty handily, and I appreciate my district supporting us. And the other thing, I won 139 votes to 3 opposed, or 3 write-ins. And I've been curious about those 3 write-ins, because I know one was my wife Teresa, but I don't know who the other 2 were. Which other family members there were? That's it. That's the best joke I got.
Is your daughter in your
Yes, she.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Let's do a clam.
Trunk or treat. Gets bigger, better, and all that stuff every year. Is there any way that, because the problem that I see, you got 2 different lineups, right? By the time this one gets to the end and this one gets to the end, they break in front of the people that's already been in line for the length of time. Is there any way that we can plan and try to fix that problem? I know it'd be hard to do.
Yeah, we haven't had our post Hallow Fest, post Veterans Run. Like, we haven't had that meeting yet.
But I think
But
it's
that was
something
one
we
of the,
can look at.
yeah, that was one of the things that was brought up in a staff meeting. And I'm a guilty party of, I started at my car with my kids. I definitely broke the line twice because my car was in the middle. So, but yeah, we did talk about it. At one point in the night, I think they were making people go to the end of the line, but I don't know how many of y'all saw or was in town. Like, the side of Elm Street side, the line I heard was all the way to Walgreens. It was insane. Yes, yes.
So when we started over there, and we went down, and then we got into the line, and we didn't.
The line was all the way behind Benton Square. It was like
We
wrapped
went behind
around.
it all,
Yeah.
We got in
Yeah.
line. So, but I was just, because I've heard a lot of people.
Yeah.
Confrontations and stuff, but another thing too, I don't know how many food trucks you can get.
Mhm.
But I think it would be ideal to have food, if we had them over there in the parking lot.
Mhm.
If we can get them on this end too.
So
If
we
keep two different lines.
Right. We had it in the Grove. We did have food trucks in the Grove last year, and they did not get much benefit being in the Grove. So we switched it up this year. We were thinking, and you know, there's always the concern of the railroad tracks, but you don't want to leave the businesses out on that side of the railroad track either. So we thought if we can get food trucks over here, that would kind of be a gathering spot. You would still get those businesses involved in it. And you have Fainting Goat and Salvaged Heirlooms on that side, so that's going to pull your adults over there as well. So that's why we staged the food trucks like we did. We kind of used one as like a blocking off area, and then they rolled into Benton Square, which was perfect because Fainting Goat also had a food truck that night. So, I mean, it was kind of all right in there together. But we can look at it for sure in the post meeting.
Well, I mean, if you keep them over there, I might would get more.
Yeah. So I was not able. So I obviously walked around with my kids, and then I went back to my trunk. So I haven't heard much about the food trucks and whether I heard they were busy. I know the one at Fainting Goat, just because my husband got me food before they closed, they had to like make sure they even had enough food to even do my order. But yeah, I think we would probably serve better to have more for sure. Yeah. And anything
I
that
appreciate everything all staff done to make it happen.
that's probably one of the funnest events I think that we do.
Yeah, it gets bigger.
And I didn't run out of candy this year, so that was a positive.
I did receive some good feedback on the trunk or treat, so that's one good thing.
Did you?
I thought I had.
I'm sorry.
No, I said I have received some good feedback from the trunk or treat events. They did very well. These were people that don't even live in this town. They did come, and they did talk about how nice the event was.
I'll say I had two families that we're very good friends with that live in Winterville, and they came just for, they got up the next morning and left and went back home, but they came just for trunk or treat, Hallow Fest. They had come in the year before, and they were like, they didn't even ask. They were like, we'll be there at 5 o'clock. So I'm happy that it's been so successful. I mean, the Parks and Rec Department, the Police Department, the Fire Department, Public Works, I mean, everybody has worked really hard to make that a wonderful event. I'm glad that's something we can do for the public.
Maxine?
No, I'm gonna pass because I'm tired. I'm ready to go home.
We still got close
You got
session.
things to say?
Yes, ma'am, I
Will?
sure do.
Hate my time.
I'm gonna make it long, so you can sit beside me until
I'm gonna be
you
out.
get up. Well, whatever.
Go on and talk.
No, I need to find out maybe from Ike. I've been told from maybe DOT what we may need, but this board needs to make a decision whether it does any good or not on the roundabout at 301 and 50. It is not a done deal yet. If this board decides that we really, it's going to be a big mess to have that done, then we need to, as a whole, make a resolution. We don't need to come up and say, well, 2 of us is for it and 4 of us is against it. If all of us are looking at the same thing, and I look at it a little more and a little different than everybody else because Alan's got pictures of it. I was out there in the last 2 weeks, and we had to shut down 95, and that actually shuts down Benson because for 3 hours, bumper to bumper traffic all the way to your 4-way stop sign on Hodges Chapel Road. It was backed up all the way to Benson. It was backed up all the way through the intersections, and it's backed up on 50 and 301. It's a nightmare, and I do not think now. 95, we can't do anything about that roundabout, and I think it'll work down there. But 301 and 50, I need to find out what this board thinks about that intersection and see what we need to submit, because after it's done, well, the board was for it. I've never been for it because I've seen it won't work right there. You got a half a block and a railroad.
I think what would work best for there if they redone the signalization to include a protected left-hand turn, because you already got the left-hand turn lanes there, right?
Yeah.
That would work the best.
Well, you can't put the left-hand turn lanes going west on Main Street. There's not enough room, unless you do away with all the parking places on the street.
Wait, west? They all got center lanes for left-hand turns. Every one of them. You got straight lane and then you got turn left. So.
Yeah, but what I was saying is that you would only have a short, I think 3 cars can.
Oh, yeah, it's a short one, yeah.
You have to do away with.
And if y'all will look at the roundabouts, it's not just a roundabout, it's an island coming off the roundabout where you have to go, if you're coming down the street and you want to go to the gas station on the left side or into Max's and you're coming to the right side, there's an island that comes there that you have to go all the way around to make it into the gas station. I mean, the little islands that jut out from that keeps you from doing a lot of things.
Well, those islands, though, are, in other words, you got the island sitting here, the station sitting over here. You turn before you get to the island. It's the way it's designed. They had to move those after the first showing of it.
Yeah, they're gonna have to move it if they put it out there. I think they're gonna have to move it within 6 months.
Well, we've had a lot of people with comments about it, and, you know, last meeting we had, we brought it up to the District 4 chairman, and he had his guy to go do some work on what, how this one compares to the one down in Selma. So, but we can talk about it. That's
Well, that's what I've
everybody.
got. Do we want, as a board, to have a resolution or just say, well, let's just see what happens? Because if it's not down in writing, Jerry, then we have made no decisions here.
What I'd like to see us do is when we have we have a meeting every quarter with DOT. And I would love to get them to prepare to talk about that at the next meeting. And the engineer that designed it is with the group. They bring their whole staff with them when they come. And so I think we could do that and find out from them, you know, just what the situation is.
So that's in 2 weeks and you're gonna be there?
You better believe it.
Okay. And the last report that I've got, they're gonna try to start this thing January the 1st.
They're gonna start after the new year, so not January the 1st necessarily, but in January, yes.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember DOT coming down here and said they're gonna do something with that intersection.
Mhm.
It's either this, or they're gonna have to acquire, take some of the Napa store and all that good stuff to make, you know, or whatever they had to do.
Yeah, so,
Let's talk to them, and we might be able to work it out so anybody on the board could come and put their input, listen to them.
But
Is that
what
all
does
right?
their board think
Yeah,
as a
they done
whole?
bidded it.
Yeah,
Stuff
what's
that's
what
already
you're
been
talking
done.
I think I'm absolutely opposed to it.
Yeah, it's
I think it would
Jimco.
kill parking.
Huh?
Jimco's
That
doing
side of town, to take all the parking spaces
Jimco
away.
is the contractor.
And so, I'm not for it.
Well, that's what I was looking for, a unification, just to put it on paper. It may not make a damn to anybody, to DOT, but if we wait 2 weeks and, well, maybe I can get y'all to go, how many of y'all gonna be there? It's hard enough to make a meeting here. I would just like some clarification through this board. I brought it up before, and we have done nothing, and I keep hearing dates change. If everybody wants to do it, do we need to have a resolution, just a statement saying, this is what we think?
The resolution says what it says. I don't know what the effect will be. Sounds like to me DOT's already bid the project, and the project rests in their rights of way.
Yeah,
So
and we're a
ultimately-
year behind on the project.
Yeah.
But
So somebody keeps putting it off.
Well, they put it off, they put it off because they didn't have the materials. There's a material crisis, I guess, and they couldn't get them in time to meet the first deadline.
They were short some items.
They were short some items, and then they wanted to basically do it right after Mule Days, and I said, no, you need to wait until after. We have a lot of stuff that goes on. You got Mule Days, you got Hallow Fest, you have the Christmas Parade, Christmas on Main, so y'all need to wait until after Christmas. Well, then it's the New Year, so they said, well, we'll wait until after the New Year. So that's why it's changed.
If they've bid the contract and awarded it, then they've signed documents just like we have.
Yeah.
We would have in a contract where we've awarded it, so they've agreed to pay somebody money to do work. I don't know.
I think well, I know utilities have already been lowered to accommodate.
Right.
So if you did a resolution, that certainly communicates something to them. No, well, look, the biggest point to make out there as far as what this board can control, that's their right of way. So the law says if they just came in here and said, we really don't care what you think, we're gonna put it in anyway, or we don't care if you want one, we don't think no one needs to
Well,
be there.
that would be fine, but if there's enough wrecks and enough congestion and let something get stuck on the railroad track during this time and something gets hit, I don't want them to come up and say, well, the board had approved it. We never approved this. Way back when they came up and said, we got $300,000 to do this study, and the board will have to make the approval on this. They never did. They came and showed our maps and says, do you think we would have spent this kind of money if we were not planning on doing the roundabout?
I think the board did a resolution at one point, which I'm talking about 3 years ago.
Well,
It's
I'll
been-
tell
it's
you
been a
what the
while ago.
engineer told me when we talked about it a year ago, is that they have a report on accidents on every stretch of road in North Carolina. And that is one of the worst, and they're sitting, that intersection is sitting on the list where they have accidents. And the other one is the one at McDonald's. And they also got to do something there. They first have a roundabout in there, but we told them they couldn't do that.
Okay, who told them they couldn't do that? Who? Did you, or did we tell them as a whole?
Not the board didn't tell them.
That's the only thing I'm trying to get. They're gonna do whatever, but this board better make a decision so when your neighbors come to you and say, how in the world did y'all let that happen? Will you say, well, we didn't do anything about it because the state wanted to? I think we need a resolution if we're for it. If half of us are for it and half of us against it, we can't put a resolution out there on anything because everybody's not for that.
Well, you could let him do a resolution, and next meeting, we'll see what the board wants to do.
Yeah, William Neighbors he's watching. He said that he wants to see an updated copy of the plans. So I've emailed Addison at DOT and asked him to send that to me. So when I get that, I will send it out to y'all. Just wanted to interject in there.
Do you want me to draft a resolution?
Draft a resolution, it may not be signed in time, but we'll have it if that's what we decide to do.
So I drafted just for or against, depending on how y'all might vote, or we talk about being against it?
Well, if half's for and half's against it, we will never send a resolution. I would say against it. And then if everybody doesn't sign it, then we don't send it.
Y'all already did a resolution, and
I
you're for
don't know
it.
that, were you,
I was on the
Yeah.
board. and
Matt
I
was
remember
still
it was
here.
basically like picky poison.
Yeah.
This is our road, we're going, something's gotta be done. It's either this or this, and the other option was gonna be taking some of the Napa property.
That's exactly right, I remember that very well.
I'll-
That's the reason why.
If you want me to
we
draft it, I'll draft it. I just, you know, you
All right, you do it, you're gonna bring it to the next meeting. All right, I wanna just say this, I really appreciate, all the support that I got during Gene's death and all the things that went on. The only salvation I have right now is I've got a cat that is not afraid of me. And she's sleeping with me now. And she's not a very good partner. She scratches. And so, thank you so much for all of you that were there. We had good representation, not only from here, but we had a church full, which I appreciate. I'll entertain a motion to go in closed session.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
All in favor, say aye. We'll come back in 2 minutes. That's how it is, if you can go to the bathroom that fast. Otherwise, we're gonna clear the room.
You were fixing